Alright, what up guys? Welcome back to another episode of Happy Face Hold'em, the poker vlog, mainly from Los Angeles. Today is day 2 of our 5-day Staycation 3K Bankroll challenge. That's right. We are trying to run up $3,000 in profit over the next 5 days while we are on a staycation from our day job. Sound like a plan? Who doesn't want to make $3 in a week, right? Let's go in. Let's get it.
Happy Face Hold'em. I hope you have good luck at the 5-video challenge.
I'm grateful to each and every one of you that subscribe to and watch my channel. But that was Happy Face Hold'em's biggest fan, Azul. She's been watching the channel for 20% of her life. Okay, she's only 5. Thank you, Azul. I'm going to need all the luck I can get. In our first hand of day 2, we see pocket 4s in the cutoff and open the action to 15. The button calls, the blinds call, and under the gun makes the call. So we're off to the races 5 ways with $75 in the pot, and we see a dynamic board flop of 5, 6, 7 rainbow. Players ahead of me check, and on this board, although I double block the straight, it's the dummy end, and I can rep all the over pairs, and the draws are likely to call here. With 75 in and not wanting to totally throw money away, I continuation bet for $30, although a check is probably way more profitable in the long run, and only under the gun will make the call here. Heads up, we see a turn of the ace of clubs. It's reasonable that under the gun could have 2 overs and wants me to bet again, so when he checks, I'm happy to check behind and see the river, which comes down the queen of clubs. Given that I now have 6 pair, I surrender after he checks, and he doesn't have us dominated, but definitely has us beat with 5-8 suited. Okay, time to recover. After under the gun limps, we see ace 7 suited from +1, and we decide that we'll raise the $20 in this spot. You know, watching my plays after the fact, I need to raise bigger from early position because the low jack thinks this is a reasonable price and makes the call. And you know what? The small blind and the under the gun player, they both agree with him, and they also call. So we're going to be 4 ways to see a flop with $80 in the middle. Had we raised just a little more, we likely could have isolated and only had 1 or 2 players. So going to the flop, with $80 in the middle, we see Jack, Deuce, 9, Rainbow. The players know how to play this game, and they check to me in flow. With only 1 over, I really have no reason to bet here, but that Jack should hit my range, so repping a pair, I decide to c-bet half pot of $40. In a spot like this, I think when you don't really flop any equity, we have no flush draws here. With 3 players that act after you, a check is by far the better play. But given that this board is pretty dry and only queen 10 is likely to float here to a bet, I get this one through, as one by one, they fold. Let's scoop this one and recover a little bit. Under the gun straddled in this one. If any of you are unfamiliar with that term, it's basically the person right after the blinds adding a 3rd blind, which will give them the last option to take an action before the flop. So the blinds in this hand are 2, 5, 10. +1 on the cutoff both call when we see 10-8 suited on the button, a very speculative hand. With all that dead money already in the pot, damn it, I should have squeezed but over limp instead, and thank goodness under the gun decides to check his option because he could absolutely squeeze in this spot too. So with $40 in, a 4-way pot, we see King 5 Queen 2 club board, and the action will check all the way through. So off to a free card we all go, which comes to 3 of diamonds. When +1 leads out for half the pot, he's likely got a weak king or a queen or possibly even a flush draw, as the 3 doesn't help anyone except pocket 3s here. So with that bet, we all fold and move on to the next hand. Ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seatbelts for this one, and thank you for hitting that subscribe button. It's why I record my sessions and bring them to you. We get a table change, and in our first playable hand, we have another straddled pot, and +1 decided to raise the 40. It folds to me in the small blind with ace 10 of spades, and I make the call, although I'm pretty short stacked with only about 160. The big blind, he wants to gamble, so he makes the call. And the player in the straddle, he's getting great odds and comes along. Folks, welcome to Los Angeles poker. So with 165 in the middle, 4 of us are going to see a flop. It comes out 10, 4, 8 with 2 diamonds. So let's analyze. We have top pair and a raised pot. There's no ace, king, queen, or jack out there. And this is a wet board with 2 diamonds. I suppose one of these other players could have an overpair, but there wasn't a 3-bet pre. I have 122 behind and 165 up for grabs. Only one choice. We jam our stack. The big blind, he ponders for less than 20 seconds before making the call. It takes under the gun half that amount of time to commit another 122 from his stack, and before he's done, +1 is jamming all of his for $300 total now. Just wow. So with 653 in the main pot, that I'm playing for and a side pot brewing, I'm feeling pretty disgusted with only a pair of 10s. On to the big blind. This time, almost a full minute goes by before he finally says, let's gamble again, and he makes the call. Under the gun, he doesn't need long to think before he calls because he's got less. It's going to take the dealer just a bit to do all the math, but the dealers here at the Hustler Casino are all top notch and she's ready to go with a main pot and 2 side pots in no time at all. So let me turn you over to the table footage that I took to watch how this runs out.
That was a good card. I have a full house.
Right. In the main, so between the two of you first. Okay?
Wow, what a run out for us. I checked the math. We were third dog in this kennel, only ahead of the Pocket Jacks, and Pocket Queens were the 50% favorite to win. No complaints. Maybe when we see Rampage Poker with Mariano down here at the Hustler Casino on September 17th, we should pick up some luck box swag. Comment below and let me know if you're going to be making it out too.
Anyways, the Happy Face Hold'em stickers are in. Check those bad boys out. Do me a favor, like this video, subscribe down below. Don't forget to leave a comment.
I will. I live in Simi Valley, and if you've ever been there, there's a huge Happy Face mowed into the side of the hill. So.
I know one thing about Simi Valley.
What's the one thing? There's a million things.
I know one thing.
Is that where you buy? Is that where you used to buy meth or what? I don't know.
Yeah, can I get another Modelo? Yeah. 3 lines? Small?
I guess I'll be telling my age. 4 players.
Hey, did you see Andrew Neem in the house?
What's that?
Andrew Neem's in the house.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I thought they were in Austin right now.
Good there. Johnny knows. Johnny knows. He's a popular sponsor vlogger.
Ooh, that's not Andrew Neiman, man. The guy on the left with the gray sweatshirt?
What's his name?
Johnny Vibe.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Vibe, yeah. He was here, he was doing the live
Who's playing
stream.
the live?
Yeah, he was just commentating, I think, right? Sorry, guys.
Tournament.
No, all good.
Hollywood Park. When I used to work there.
Wow, I actually want to pause it.
Just a little table talk for you. We had a drug problem back in the 70s, but it's a nice place to live now, and Johnny Vibes is always a good sport for a picture. So moving on to King 10 suited and +1, we opened this one to $15. The button, the small blind, and the big blind, they all say that's a fair price to see a flop, and they all make the call. There's going to be 4 of us in this one with $60 in the pot going to a flop. And we see 10 deuce 6 rainbow. Now diamonds are a girl's best friend, so of course with all men at the table, we see none. But with top pair and a pretty good kicker, I elect for a $25 c-bet, imagining that on a pretty dry board, only a weaker 10 or maybe 2 overs will call. So that's why we choose slightly less than half pot. The big blind must have something like that, and he makes the call. Heads up, and now 110 in the middle, the dealer peels off the 7 of clubs on the turn. This brings in a backdoor flush draw, and 8-9 gets there for a straight, and 4-5 now stand a chance to make a hand. So I go for the pot size all-in jam, to which the big blind surrenders. This has become a fun table. Under the gun straddled and I raised to 40 after seeing ace-queen offsuit in the small blind. Under the gun has been calling and betting without ever looking at his cards. I don't suggest it. I've watched this stack dwindle from about 800 down to 200 or so, but damn it was fun. And he calls our raise blind, then he checks dark before we see the flop of 10 ace-4 with 2 hearts. Having top pair and a good kicker, we c-bet for $40, and under the gun announces he'll call if he has any pair or a draw. Then he looks at his cards really slowly one at a time, and he makes the call for 40. We go to the turn, and we see a 3 of diamonds hit the board. This time he checks after seeing a card, and I check behind. I should be betting here, but he's been getting super lucky in the pots I've been in with him. The deuce of spades on the river puts a 4-liner to the straight out there, and he bets out this time for $40. I'm not quite sure what to make of this. Ultimately, after thinking about it, I fold my hand face up, and he flips over 8-5 of hearts for a flop flush draw and a rivered straight. Nice hand, man, nice hand. Sitting in +1 with a short stack of 125, we look down at 10-3 suited and decide to gamble, and we limp for $5. The cutoff limps behind us. The small blind looks at his cards. He likes what he sees, and he bumps up the fund to $30. Not sure why, but I call the 25 more, and the cutoff will call behind us. The dealer rounds up the 90 into a neat little pile, burns a card, and spreads ace 3-5 rainbow. Alright, we're playing a really bad hand, out of position, but we've hit a 32%er by making a pair. That's the math of flopping a pair. You have a 32.43% chance. One by one we all check, and we go to a turn, bringing us a miracle 10. With 94 behind, a backdoor flush on the board, and a wheel draw, with 2 pair, I'm ready to win this one, and I go all in for about a pot-sized bet of $94. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we get this one through and add on to our stack. Here we sit in position on the button, remembering our original plan to be aggressive in position and play a tight range, and we raise the $20 after looking down at ace-king offsuit. Only the small blind will call, and we'll be heads up with $40 in the middle. The flop comes down 7-4-5 with 2 hearts. I hold the ace of hearts, which blocks a ton of flush draws, so not thinking he'd call a bet with a flush draw, but the board being all middle type cards, this is a great spot to be checking behind in. Thanks pokercoaching.com for that little tidbit of advice. Hey, there's a link in the description below to 3 days of free online access to Jonathan Little's poker coaching site. Go check it out. The turn brings a 10 of hearts, and holding the ace of hearts, I'm going to rep the flush here, and I bet 35 into this $40 pot. The small blind ponders his next move for 10 to 15 seconds, but what seems like an eternity, and decides to put me all in. He has me well covered with 178 in the middle, I think, through all the hands that might play this way. The nut flush would, if he thought I liked my hand a lot. Something like a made straight of 6-8, thinking I'm stabbing at this pot and not wanting me to draw out. 2 pair like 4-5 or a set might do this as well. Of course, there's always the made baby flush, and maybe one with a redraw to the straight flush like 8-9 of hearts, or one of my favorite hands, 6-4. I suppose I could have the best hand with ace high here, but would he really be putting me all in being the short stack? He's a good player and knows I'll call. I really have no idea what he has here, and after going deep into the tank for 1 minute and 15 seconds, I decide to stick it all in. I flip over my ace and say to the dealer, I need one more. Unfortunately, we don't get there, and he did indeed have a made flush already. After getting stacked, because I'm sitting at a super action table with that one player still calling without looking, we fire our second bullet for the day. Under the gun raises in this one to $20, and the cutoff, well, he 3-bets blind to $40, never looking at his cards. We're in the small blind, and we look down at ace-queen offsuit. Recently, I've been playing this hand much more passive from out of position, but given the gamble at this table, and thinking I can take this pot down right now, I 4-bet to $150. Although under the gun was the initial raiser in this pot, he lays his hand down. Another player says he has a pocket pair, but can't call. I say that sounds like deuces, and he mucks his cards face up, showing exactly that. Yes, poor poker etiquette as players are still left to act, but it was all in good fun, and we're having a really good time with this bunch down here at the Hustler Casino. Okay, back to the cutoff. He says he won't gamble the rest of his stack without looking at his cards. Remember, it's been dwindling, and he has $90 left. He peeks at his cards and makes the call. Let's listen to how this goes.
I'm embarrassed of this hand.
You probably win.
I don't have a jack.
Neither do I. I got nothing.
Oh my god! I win. What the heck? I should pray.
Look at that. Look at that. That's sick.
On to the last hand of day 2 of our 5-day bankroll challenge that we'll go over. We look down at ace-jack suited of the spade variety in +1, and we raise to 20. The action folds around to the cutoff, who decides that his hand must be better than mine, and he's going to 3-bet it to $60. The small blind hates money. After all, why else do you call a 3-bet out of position? And back to me, I gladly make the call, as Malcolm in the middle. 3 ways with a bit over 180 in the pot, we see a flop of ace-3-5, 2 clubs. The small blind must be new to the game of No Limit Texas Hold'em because rather than playing in flow, he takes the betting lead and then loads 2/3 of his clip, firing $100 at this pot. I'm pretty certain with this player type, He's repping an ace, but afraid of the flush and the wheel draws. So now I have to decide how big is his ace. I ask for time while I run to the car and get my balls out of the glove box. Once seated, I decided they're bigger than his ace, and I commit the rest of my stack to the tune of $180. Ralph sees no problem with 180, and he proceeds to call. Back to the small blind, who only has $80 more to potentially win a pot that is now almost $650. I'm really not sure he has an ace. And maybe he's on the flush draw and our initial 3-better from under the gun? Maybe he's the one with the ace. He does make the call eventually. And the turn comes a 9 of hearts. They both check and check again on the 10 of clubs. We all roll over, and the small blind also shows ace jack suited, while under the gun, he was the dog with pocket queens.
Everyone loves a chop pot.
It's time to rack up and get out.
All right, guys, end of session update. We played for 6 hours and 36 minutes. Man, that was a long grind. And total profit was $321. So we made a little bit more forward progress on our 3K bankroll challenge on our 5-day staycation here. So happy about that. Not going to quite get us to the 3,000 mark. It's interesting. If we don't run it up more than that, but anyways, yeah, 321. I'll calculate the hourly and I'll put it all right here for you guys. So stay tuned for day 3 of the Staycation Bankroll Challenge coming up real soon. And if you made it this far, please do me a favor, like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe down below, ring the notification bell so you get notified when I drop new content, and don't forget to leave a comment.